welcome to Phuket News TV. There are a lot of steps when it comes to understanding the intricacies of Phuket. The tourism market, the property market, the sort of people that are coming here, the money that they're spending. The trends are quite easy to measure when it comes to numbers. The numbers tell the truth. And we're going to be speaking to Phuket's #1 numbers man. It's an interview you have to watch if you're interested in living in Phuket right after this on Phuket News TV.
Have you ever been refused a visa to Australia? Thinking of visiting, studying or a partner visa to Australia? Call now 076 612 550 or visit ozvisa.org.
And welcome back to Phuket News TV. We promised you we'd be in a spectacular location. This is Averdina Hills overlooking Layan Beach. Bill, we've got a nice view, haven't we?
Oh, it's a great view. Actually, one of the most stunning in Phuket.
Yeah, this is Bill Barnett from C9 Hotel Works. Bill, whenever we need to know the numbers, what's actually happening on the island, we always come to you because you're the man with the facts. Everybody's talking about the Chinese at the moment. There's a lot of urban folklore out there at the moment about the Chinese aren't spending or there's too many Chinese coming. Have Phuket put all their eggs in one basket?
Not all. I mean, Phuket's no different than a lot of other places in the world. They've gone to the go-to markets. The Chinese are the ones traveling. Certainly there's a big influence here with the current financial situation in China. But I mean, by the numbers, again, we're looking at airlift for the period of January through June actually is up 11% year on year. I think, looking inside the China number, China airlift was up well over 34%. So.
Let's look at who is coming from China. The perception is that it's just sort of older tour bus people and they don't spend any money in Phuket, but the numbers would suggest otherwise. Numbers
would suggest, certainly. We've been talking to C-Trip recently, and C-Trip actually controls over 50% of the China outbound market. It's a very significant organization. So you see prime movers in that. Phuket continues to be a popular place for the Chinese. There's an average length of stay of 2.2 days, but probably the major mover in that market is the 19 to 29-year-old demographic. And again, these guys have spending power, discretionary spending. Yeah. So that's really where we're seeing a major movement. I mean, over 24% of the market is the 19 to 29 demographic, and that's interesting for us.
So we're sort of seeing a younger and maybe more independent, maybe even more Western thinking a lot of Chinese now coming to Phuket.
That shift is inevitable. I mean, you go back to years ago and people said, no, the Japanese. Now all of a sudden people embrace the Japanese but shun the Chinese. And the Japanese start out again through the follow the flag and that movement as well. The market is maturing and people are becoming independent. Also, what's interesting for us is the ability to generate quick business. Looking at C-Trip's research into their own demographics as well. Over 75% of the market actually books in their holidays in 30 days notice or under. So again, it's great to add numbers quickly from the China market. They're making quick decisions, and airlift continues to be profound.
Sure.
Go back probably 4 or 5 years ago, and you had single-digit numbers with direct flights from Chinese cities. Now it's over 25 cities in China served from Phuket.
Bill, I was up in Bangkok a few days ago and all the luxury malls were full of Chinese. So the perception that they don't spend any money in Thailand is silly.
Absolutely, again, and we've been looking at inflationary rates. We just released a report on the Phuket economy looking at inflation. Inflation in Phuket is the highest actually in Thailand. And something that drives that also is disposable income. There's positive spending sentiment in a micro market. We did something called the Pad Thai Index. You're actually looking at Pad Thai prices through Thailand. And of course, Phuket tops the index in terms of actually the price of a Pad Thai. We're looking at Bangkok, maybe it's 41 baht, but in Phuket it's 55 baht.
All right, and what are some of the other places that might be lower?
We've also been looking at Hua Hin, Chiang Mai ranked lower as well, Pattaya ranked lower as well. Actually, again, what's driving Phuket is tourism, and that drives, in terms of the broad economy, probably over 50% of the expanded economy is tourism related on the island.
All right. It's in many ways, probably 3 years ago we were talking about the influx of the Russian tourists and oh my God, that's going to change everything. Now we're talking about the Chinese, and the Russians have partly fallen by the wayside. We'll get back to the sort of the tourist mix in a moment. But somehow it seems smart to hook ourselves to this Chinese engine because they're the most populous nation in the world and they've got the fastest growing middle class in the world. What's wrong with connecting them to Phuket tourism?
It has to be, again, and with the one-child policy in China, that's a natural demographic in which you're going to have a younger traveling generation. You look at the aging Western nations and the spending power, again, so where the money spending power and discretionary spending for travel. Even after the global financial crisis in America, people have taken vacations or leisure holidays as a given these days. It doesn't just go away.
Yeah.
If the yuan goes down and China's in an economic crisis, it doesn't eliminate the travel market completely, and that's the biggest misperception out there right now.
So, all right, we've got to embrace the Chinese. We've got a situation in Phuket at the moment where a lot of the top end, the 4 and 5 star hotels, are doing amazing numbers, like 80-90% occupancy. But we've got a raft of smaller, privately owned guest houses in, say, Patong, and they're all screaming blue murder. There's no one coming. Where does the truth lie?
We finished the end of the, as I said, we finished our report through the middle part of the year. And one thing for certain is there's an influx of new hotel rooms. There's a number, about 4,200 new hotel rooms in the pipeline. There's a tremendous amount of non-traditional accommodation, condo hotels, villas for rent. And also Phuket adds as a hub going into Krabi and to Khao Lak as well. So it's, again, creating a broader picture of greater Phuket. So the numbers are diluting. But what's, we look at the airlift, and people said airlift is going up by 11% for the first half of the year. And some of that's being diluted.
Extraordinary.
But if the average length of stay of the demographic is shrinking, again, it needs more volume. So it's a beast you have to keep feeding, which is an unfortunate part of volume tourism. But by the numbers, certainly one thing we know for clearly is that room rates in Phuket are challenged in the broader hotel market.
Right, let's talk about that. Over the last 1 or 2 years, what's happened to room rates? What are the numbers?
We've seen, again, when we're looking especially at mid-scale hotels, economy and budget sector, even upscale hotels are challenged. For the first half of the year, we saw fairly flat occupancy growth, again, because it's a shorter average length of stay. But we did see a retraction in certainly in average room rates by about 9%, which affected RevPAR. RevPAR is an important metric for hotels, and that shrunk by 10%. So again, there's a lot of pressure on room rates. And that's going to continue to be the case. Patong, again, is an example whereby you have the situation with the sun loungers down there and everything else. You have a lot of hotel accommodation, which is limited service. They don't have facilities, so they're not drawing a large crowd. That's simply an outcome of the dynamic of broad tourism.
Who's coming to Phuket? I mean, it used to be the Australians and the Europeans, and that was sort of the market, and they really built Patong around what they were looking for, the sun lounges, the girly bars and the late night entertainment. But has the market now broadened for tourists to look to other places, look beyond Phuket, but use Phuket as a hub? I mean, is Patong dying a natural death?
I think it's not dying, no. In the case of, is Pattaya, these type of urban beach destinations have a chance to regenerate themselves. I mean, probably the best solution for Patong would be to allow zoning, allow high-rise redevelopment in the place because of land prices. It makes sense to actually urbanize Patong in the larger scheme of things. Again, you've got an incredible catchment, about over 20,000 hotel rooms in a small area within Patong. Patong will prosper, and what we're seeing is the convergence of Patong and Cat 2 into the new CBD. I think that's interesting for us. When the tunnel comes through, we're seeing central redevelopment, the mall group coming in, tourism attractions coming in, and Patong is merging with Phuket City.
Bill, I'm not going to let you get away with just saying the word tunnel in a split second. Let's talk about the Patong tunnel. They've been talking about it for a decade, and they're now saying that indeed it may start next year, and we've obviously got a government that can push these things through, and whatever the delays were, they can be gotten out of the way. How will the Patong tunnel change Phuket?
It will, again, it's really going to push the CBD from Phuket, from the traditional old Phuket town into Cat 2, and it's going to converge certainly Phuket City together with Patong and become a larger metropolis. We see this in a lot of Western locations. Look at Los Angeles and the spread of that. So the urbanization of that corridor in Cat 2, I think, is strategic, and that's going to be ultimately a good thing because it's going to allow the city to come to the beach as well.
Right, time, Bill, to get out our crystal ball, the C9 Hotel Works crystal ball. What are we going to be talking about in 2 years? What's going to be the hot topics? What's going to be the numbers?
I think despite doom and gloom in terms of the China market disappearing, we're going to understand that the Chinese will continue to come despite a broader financial issue and a slowdown in the country, because Phuket and Thailand are more affordable than going to America, than going to France, than going to the UK. It's simply location. Thailand and Phuket are blessed by location, and when we say doom and gloom for Phuket, location is still very favorable compared to other places in Southeast Asia.
Of course.
There's a lot of challenges. Infrastructure continues to be, but I mean, at the end of the day, you're going drive through the island, you're seeing the underpasses coming in, you're seeing infrastructure built, the airport. So there is being a large movement towards better infrastructure on the island. I think certainly there's going to be a continuation of who's going to supplement the Russian market, where else the broad number is going to come from in growth. I think that's important.
Bill, thank you as always for talking to us. I'm thinking that if we can still get a pad thai in Phuket for 55 baht, life's not too bad.
Just check out the pad thai index. Thanks so much.
We can go to c9hotelworks.com.
Yes.
Okay.
All the new data's there.
Bill Barnett from C9 Hotel Works filling us in with the numbers here in Phuket on Phuket News TV.